So a guy walks into a hospital and he says, I got to see the doctor. But the receptionist tells him, hey man, sit down, fill out these forms, wait in the waiting room. And the guy's really insistent. He says, no, this is an emergency. I'm shrinking. I'm usually 6 feet tall. I woke up more like 5 and it hasn't stopped. And the receptionist says, yeah, that sounds bad, but everything here is an emergency. We got a gunshot victim on the left and a car crash on the right. You're just going to have to be a little patient. Get it? A little patient. So I'll explain later why I did that. Today we're going to look at a poem. It is called Traveling Through the Dark by William Stafford. And this one's pretty well known. If you see this in a textbook or if you see this in another class, I wouldn't be surprised. And it's well known for a reason. I think it's pretty good. Today, we're going to look at one aspect that I think really stands out, although there are a lot of things you could talk about with this poem. And then we're going to use that in your writing to give it a little target. So let's read this here. Traveling through the dark, I found a deer dead on the edge of the Wilson River Road. It is usually best to roll them into the canyon. That road is narrow. To swerve might make more dead. By glow of the taillight, I stumbled back of a car and stood by the heap. A doe, a recent killing. She had stiffened already, almost cold. I dragged her off. She was large in the belly. My fingers touching her side brought me the reason. Her side was warm. Her fawn lay there waiting, alive, still, never to be born. Beside that mountain road, I hesitated. The car aimed ahead, its lowered parking lights. Under the hood purred the steady engine. I stood in the glare of the warm exhaust turning red. Around our group, I could hear the wilderness listen. I fought hard for us all, my only swerving, then pushed her over the edge into the river. So this poem tells a story, pretty straightforward, beginning, middle, end. And I believe it is true. I think the author really did encounter this situation, although it's fine if he made it up. And this one has a little bit of rhyme. It has a little bit of alliteration. It has a lot of things that we could talk about. But today I want to focus on one, which is really key and really one of the things that makes poetry special. And that is the ending of each line. When you write an article or an essay or a text message or anything else, you just go until the end of the page, or you go until the end of the screen. Or if I'm writing on the board, I just go until the end of the board. But when you're doing a poem, you stop, go to the next line intentionally, and you leave that ending with a bit of importance. You say, hey, this is a moment that we want to focus on. So the end of each line matters in a poem. It's usually where the rhyme is, but even if not, it's still key. So let's look at this guy. I'm going to hit write a line to move them. And if I just hold this up, like, imagine we were looking at only the end of each line. We were looking at only the last word. If this was on paper, I could just cover it up with my hand, you know. Maybe I could cover this up with another window, but this is fine. Deer, road, canyon, dead. Car, killing, cold, belly. Reason, waiting, born, hesitated. These are all the key stuff. If you were saying, as a newspaper writer, who, what, when, where, all that's in the last words. If you were saying, as a poet, where do we get the cool sounds and the hints of rhyme and things. That's all in the ending of the lines. Okay, when you're writing a poem, you don't want to end your line with of or the or my or something random. You want to end it with the good stuff. Okay, and that's a big part of how you arrange your words. In the first lesson, we talked about coming up with some comparisons, your metaphors and similes to describe your thing in an artful way. And then the second one, we talked about rhyme. And the rhyme I showed in our example was not at the end of the line. It was sprinkled all out. Some of you guys were making rhymes at the end of a line. But even if you're not, the end of a line is key. So what I want you guys to do today is take what you got. We're going to keep adding to it. And by the end, it's going to be something cool. But I don't just want to say, hey, write a poem with all these things all at once. Today I want to say, hey, take what you got and try to make it so the good stuff, the key players and the juicy words and any type of rhyme or whatever, let's bump it to the end and rearrange things so they're, whether it's a short line or a long line or a mix or whatever, you want to make it end with a nice, important word. Okay? The thing I always compare it to in my mind whenever I'm like visualizing this is it's like when you tell a joke and you say the punchline, you can't keep going. Like if you just run over it, people aren't going to know that that was the thing that matters, and they might not think about it in an interesting way. So when you tell a joke, sometimes you just have to like stop and go, huh? Get it? Huh? And then people will realize, oh, that thing you just said, I got to think about that. Maybe it was a pun or whatever. So when I say you have to be a little patient, and then I'm like waiting for that, but and then the audience will go, oh, I get it. That's dumb. But I had to let them stop for a second, because otherwise it would just seem like normal words, and then they would not even pay attention at all. So that's the plan for this third assignment, is to take our little poem that we're building up. You've got your ideas, and then you maybe add some rhyme, and then now we're going to rearrange it to be a little more, poetic, and go from there. Thanks.